Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Blue Like Macro. I'm Dustin. We are looking at Apple once again, and I am very interested in this chart, mostly because this is the most widely owned, widely held stock on the entire planet and in the history of humanity. But for other reasons, it's because it doesn't seem to be able to get out of its way. If we look right now, it is positive on the 1 day. It was up 1.69%. It's down on the 5 day, down on the 15 day. It's positive on the 1 month, down on the 3 month, up on the 6 month, and up on the 1 year. If we look more closely at the raw individual data, we can see here with this chart over the past 9 months, something changed in the trend of something changed in the trend of Apple here in the middle of August. Now, what I find to be really fascinating, especially this period here at the very beginning of September, we could not break $190. Now, that wouldn't be a big deal, except for the fact that, again, this is the most widely owned stock in the history of humanity. We are at $177. We have not been able to break 180 since the very beginning of September. Now, we are below our 5 day moving average. Actually, we're back up above our 5 day moving average, but our 5 day moving average is actually below our 23 day moving average, and we are below our 23 day moving average. That's not great. We look at the volatility. The volatility has completely reset, so now volatility is going to start expanding, which means that volatility is going to start rising. We saw over 109 million shares traded just yesterday, or on Friday, excuse me, and we didn't even move. We moved 42 basis points for the entire day. That's an interesting signal with it still being down on the 5 day rolling return, now down on the 15 day rolling return. And yes, we flipped on the 1 day, but I am not so convinced that we're going to be able to support that long term because we're going to have to compete against these 180 numbers in like a week or two. If we look at the 3 month rolling return, there's no way that we're going to be higher because obviously over the past 3 months, things have completely changed in the outlook of Apple. We're looking at 3 months ago is in row 114. We're looking at back in June. That's going to be negative for a very long time for probably at least another 2 months. Look at the 6 month change. We have gone up, which is good. We're at 12.5% nearly on the 6 month rolling return. Positive to see. But if you look at this chart, things look different. You can tell, I can tell. I think that this price level, that 170, is a really important level. I think if Apple, excuse me, I keep saying Tesla, if Apple breaks 170, that could be a really ugly signal. And what's interesting is that if we look at the signals, we don't have any go long, even in the short term, intermediate term, or longer term. All we have in the intermediate term is these go short signals. We are bearish in the short term, intermediate term, and longer term on Apple. Now, if we look at the weekly data, it's still going to be strong, right? If we look here on the weekly trend, we're still bullish. But if you look in the short term on the weekly, all of a sudden Apple has been bearish now for what, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if this closes this week, 5 weeks in a row, obviously you can see that it's negative on the rolling return for 5 active weeks. It's currently negative on the 15-week rolling. We may lose the 5-month positive return very, very easily. And what is that price? Look at 154. If we close, again, 170 is a really big deal. If we close below 170 and then we stay in the low 170s going forward, we're going to have a negative 5-month rolling return in Apple, which has been so long since we've seen that. We haven't seen that really in 2023 consecutive weeks, like more than one, because I'll ignore this, consecutive weeks since the end of 2022. We've got our go long signals have disappeared in Apple in the weekly. We've got go short in the intermediate term. We've lost it in the intermediate and the longer term. It's really very curious what's happening to Apple at the moment. If we look at the overall trend, we've got a falling bear, which hit today. Looks like even though we're incredibly low on the level, we're just staying down there. If we look at the overall trading signals, you can see we've got 5 in the bear key 3. That's so bad. 5 of the bear key 3, only 2 of the bulls. We can look here at the cumulative bear signals. We have 18 cumulative bear signals. We have 8 cumulative bull signals. That's terrible. Like when we actually look at what we have in Apple, it's not a great setup. Even on the weekly, we can see that again, things have changed at the bottom here in January of 2023 at this very top at the end of July. Things have completely changed. The daily sentiment is still negative. It's under 50%. Yes, the bullishness is above its 15-day moving average, but that's not really encouraging. The volume is increasing while the price has been falling. Also not encouraging. Again, the volatility, just like I mentioned, is completely reset. The volatility is completely changed. We're not seeing a big breakout in volatility. Even though the correlation is actually high and rising, we are seeing that the volatility is slightly rolling over. It's not actually going to break out and cause a big like volatility hump like we're used to, and the correlation is going positive. So if the correlation or the volatility kind of stays flat, I'd be really curious because ultimately what we're probably going to see is this correlation is probably going to roll over and then the volatility is going to break out to the downside. That's the most concerning thing because the top of the range is at 192. Maybe we hit it, but we need to be able to break 200. You cannot keep staying at this level. If we break below 170, look out below. We have no idea what it's going to be. Even on the weekly, the bottom of the range is 160. The top of the range is 203. We're just going to have to keep a very close eye on what Apple is doing. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, subscribe to the New Height newsletter. We give you 25 stocks to your inbox every single Sunday. Stocks between $5 and $20. Stocks breaking out to one-year highs. Stocks breaking out to all-time highs. It is a great list review to get your trading week started on a Sunday. I'll talk to you soon.